1211 AD. In the mountain passes of northern China, an empire stood in the Mongols' path. The air was thin and dry, carrying the scent of dust, pine, and war. On one side, the Jin dynasty, proud and powerful, trusted its walls, its wealth, and its legions. On the other, a sea of riders under a single banner, the banner of Genghis Khan. Their clash would not only decide the fate of nations, but the direction of history itself. The Jin dynasty had reigned over northern China for more than a century. Their cities were filled with scholars, merchants, and soldiers. Their empire glittered with riches drawn from fertile lands and bustling trade routes. To the world, they were immovable, an empire built on walls of stone and centuries of order. Yet that confidence had begun to rot into arrogance. Behind the thick walls of their citadels, the Jin court looked down upon the Mongols. They saw them as barbarians from the steppe, wild horsemen who could never challenge the might of a civilized empire. In their grand halls, ministers spoke of strategy, of defenses, of fortifications that would stand forever. They believed no army could breach their mountain passes or scale their walls. They believed they were safe. But beyond the northern horizon, the world was changing. The steppe winds carried with them not just dust and cold, but a new kind of warfare. Genghis Khan had unified the Mongol tribes through sheer vision and will. He forged them into a war machine unlike anything Asia had seen. Every rider could fight, every archer could move and shoot at full gallop. Their communication was flawless, their discipline unbreakable, and their loyalty absolute. Genghis Khan understood something the Jin could not, that the greatest walls were often built inside the mind. He saw that the Jin's reliance on fortifications made them rigid, predictable, and slow. Where the Jin saw safety in walls, Genghis saw opportunity in the open plains and the mountain passes that threaded through them. The Yehuling region, north of modern-day Hebei, was a labyrinth of ridges and valleys. The land rose and fell in waves of stone, sharp cliffs slicing the horizon. To the Jin, it was the perfect natural defense. Narrow trails could be easily fortified. Choke points could trap invading armies. To the Mongols, though, these mountains were alive, full of hidden paths and unseen approaches. Genghis Khan studied them like a map of destiny. In the months before the invasion, his scouts fanned across the region, observing everything. They tracked Jin patrols, marked weak points, and charted trails through forests and ravines. They learned how slow the Jin were to respond, how messages took hours to move from one pass to another. Every weakness was noted, every mistake recorded. When the time came, Genghis Khan did not march blindly into battle. He moved with precision. His forces were divided into coordinated units, each one knowing its purpose. Some attacked openly, drawing Jin attention and forcing their generals to commit their reserves. Others vanished into the terrain, riding through fog and shadows, waiting for the signal. At dawn, the attack began. The first wave of Mongol horse archers appeared at the edge of the Jin defenses, loosing arrows in synchronized volleys. The Jin responded with heavy infantry, shields locked, expecting a straightforward charge. But before they could regroup, another Mongol force appeared from the side, and then another from the rear. The Jin commanders were overwhelmed with conflicting reports. Scouts came galloping in, shouting of ambushes and attacks from directions that made no sense. The mountain passes echoed with the thunder of hooves and the whistling of arrows. The Mongols moved as if guided by a single will. Their riders fired while retreating, drawing Jin forces forward, then wheeled around in perfect unison to attack from behind. Traps closed like jaws. Every retreat was an ambush, every pursuit a mistake. The Jin soldiers were brave, but bravery could not save them from confusion. Their heavy armor slowed them in the narrow paths. Their war drums were drowned by the chaos. Orders failed to reach the front lines. Units became isolated, cut off by smoke, dust, and fear. Within hours, the battle turned into a slaughter. The Jin defenders found themselves trapped in the very terrain they thought would protect them. Arrows rained from the slopes. Cavalry surged through gaps in their lines. The valleys filled with shouting, metal, and blood. Genghis Khan observed from high ground, calm amid the storm. He watched his plan unfold with ruthless precision. Every movement, every signal, every charge followed a rhythm only he understood. His commanders did not need constant orders. They had already memorized the flow of the battle. It was not chaos to them. It was a masterpiece. By midday, the Jin forces were collapsing. Commanders tried to rally their men, but there was nowhere to run, nowhere to regroup. The mountain passes that once seemed like fortresses had become cages. The Mongols swept through like fire through dry grass, burning everything in their path. If you are enjoying the story so far, tap like and leave a comment. Tell us what you think of Genghis Khan's tactics and whether the Jin could have survived if they had adapted. Your support helps keep these lost moments of history alive. As night fell, the cries of battle faded into the wind. The ground at Yehuling was littered with broken spears and fallen banners. Thousands of Jin soldiers lay dead or scattered across the valleys. The survivors fled south in panic, carrying tales of a force that could not be stopped. In the Jin capital, news of the disaster arrived like a ghost. Ministers blamed each other. Generals swore the enemy used magic, for how else could an army move so fast and strike from so many directions? But deep down, they knew the truth. Their empire had grown soft, complacent, and blind. Genghis Khan's victory at Yehuling was more than a triumph of tactics. It was a declaration that mobility, intelligence, and unity would always triumph over arrogance and isolation. The Jin had fought as individuals behind walls. The Mongols had fought as one, across open ground. In the months that followed, the Mongols advanced without pause. City after city fell, not only through battle, but through fear. Genghis Khan used the memory of Yehuling as a weapon. He spared those who surrendered and destroyed those who resisted, spreading the legend of his invincibility. Entire provinces submitted before the Mongols even arrived. The fall of Yehuling marked the beginning of a new order in Asia. It showed that the old way of war, of waiting behind fortresses, was dying. In its place rose the era of strategy, intelligence, and speed. The Mongol Empire began to expand across the plains, deserts, and mountains, shaping the destiny of civilizations from China to Europe. For the Jin, their power withered. Their armies, once feared, were shattered. Their fortresses, once symbols of strength, stood silent and empty. Within a generation, their dynasty would fall entirely, replaced by Mongol rule. Yet from their ashes rose something unexpected, the foundations of the future. Under Mongol influence, new systems of governance took shape. Communication networks stretched across the empire. Trade routes thrived under protection. A new administrative order began to form, one that would eventually influence China's Yuan dynasty and beyond. But history never forgets its lessons. The Battle of Yehuling remains a timeless reminder that arrogance is the enemy of progress, and that even the greatest empires can fall when they stop learning. At Yehuling, Genghis Khan did not just win a battle. He reshaped the meaning of power. He conquered the terrain, shattered arrogance, and changed the balance of Asia forever. The Jin believed their walls could keep out the storm. Instead, the storm became their downfall. And even now, if you stand among those mountain passes, where the wind hums through the stones and the valleys echo with silence, you might still feel the ghost of that day, the thunder of hooves, the whisper of arrows, and the moment when the steppe conquered the empire. If you enjoyed this journey through history, subscribe to Hours Lost in Time for more epic battles, forgotten empires, and stories that shaped our world.